Hey, this is Brian,
And Shelby.
and you're listening to the Hyperspace.
Pod Blast. Aren't you a little short for a podcast?
Huh?
Hyper. Space. Pod Blast. It didn't even work that well, but it's okay.
Wow. That was definitely original.
Thanks.
So-
Instead of your just like deep butler voice.
Yeah, true. So, welcome everybody to Hyperspace Pod Blast Chapter Chats Part 2 Record Scratch. So, we recorded a really good Chapter Chats yesterday with people from 3 different time zones.
All across the world.
It was incredibly hard to coordinate and manage, but we did it, and then our computer didn't record it.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. So instead of chapter chats, you get Star Wars expectation versus reality. Because
My
the expectation was chapter chats, and the reality is this episode instead. So,
Sorry.
whoops.
Yeah. Had a little freak out this morning, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We're good. Here we are.
Indeed.
Oh, gee. Okay.
All right, so expectation versus reality. As we've mentioned before, there's been a lot of venom spat over the story in The Last Jedi that you can more or less boil down to people being disappointed that their Star Wars expectations didn't become reality. But how do you counter that? Is it possible to have like no expectations, or what do we do? How do we fix it?
How do we fix it?
Yeah, come on, fix fandom. Shelby, go.
Oh, all right. Here we go. This is going to fix fandom forever. And then everyone will be like, Shelby, you are so amazing. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's how it works.
Yes.
That's my expectation. The reality is, at first, my gut answer was, no, it's impossible to not have any expectations. And then I was like, well, wait, we saw Deadpool 2 yesterday, which, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything. But going in, you even said it. You're like, I have no expectations. And I was like, yeah, me neither.
That's true.
And I was like, oh, I guess you can have no expectations. and then I was like, well, no, my expectation was this is going to be funny, and this is going to be a fun movie, and it's not going to be too heavy, blah, blah, blah. So I had, like, inherent expectations.
Yeah, sort of like broad-based, vague
Yeah,
expectations.
vague. And I think maybe that's the key. I mean, there's no way you can have zero expectations.
Definitely for, like, Star Wars
That's not how your brain
fans,
works.
For a Star Wars movie. Like, that's...
Or just, like, I mean, that's, like, how the brain works. Like, you go up and you press a doorbell, and your expectation is that it's going to ring.
Yeah.
Like...
And that a human being will answer.
Yeah.
And not a monster.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you have expectations when you do anything. So I say it's impossible to have zero expectations, especially as a fan of Star Wars. But I think that the way you counter it is to have more kind of broad, sweeping expectations rather than specific, detail-oriented ones.
Yeah, I would agree, but I don't know how to get to that point because so much of what a lot of fans enjoy about Star Wars is the speculation. But the problem there is they kind of marry speculation to expectations. They become so enamored with their speculation that they make it what the story should be instead of what the story might be or could be. Yeah, exactly. And I think that is where the real problem comes in. Like you said, there's no way to have no expectations, especially like as Mondo mega fanboy fans for your particular fandom. Like, I like Deadpool. I love the Marvel stuff, but I'm not super into it. So that's why I was able to let broad expectations.
Well, think of it this way. If Deadpool 2 had sucked, would you have gone home and been like, oh my God, who am I?
No, I would be like, I'm glad we have Movie Pass.
But seriously though, like, if that was your favorite superhero,
True.
you might. I mean, I think that has a big part in all of this.
Exactly.
Is
Yeah,
that
it's the
liking something or not is so tied to who some people are,
right. That emphasis,
or that's what they
put.
think it is. They think it's tied to who they are.
Well, and I mean, for some people it is, but it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. I think we've talked about this before. It's about letting go of the stuff that you don't like. You know, like if you love the original, if you love the original trilogy, but you hate the prequels or the sequels or whatever, Like, the original trilogy's still there. You don't have to hate everything now just because you don't like one part of it. But yeah, I think that's, for the most part, it's the overwhelming expectations that people build up in their heads that gets this whole idea of, oh, you let me down.
Well, you just said something about like things still being there for you to enjoy. I guess this kind of leads into a question that I just thought of when you said that, was a lot of the stuff that Star Wars seems to be doing right now impacts stuff that has come out already. I mean, greatly impacts. It changes like dynamics of stuff. People are always saying like, oh, this new stuff makes this completely different. So how do you manage that?
It makes it different if you choose to believe it makes it different. If you just say, oh, in my opinion, this is not how the story went, then it doesn't impact the old story. If you don't think of it as happening, you know what I mean? If
so you just ignure it?
Yeah, if in your head...
Didn't happen. Not real.
Yep, exactly.
Not canon.
If your head canon says that Luke Skywalker didn't become a crazy old hermit on an island milking sea cows, then, it doesn't change anything that happened in anything.
I mean, that's the thing. Every story is not real. So, therefore, you can accept whatever.
Not real, exactly.
Right. You can accept whatever timeline you want to accept as your favorite. Like, your favorite is what is real.
Exactly. It's all fake news.
So, how can fans temper their expectations about new content? Do you think that Disney Lucasfilm can do anything with their marketing to help? And, I mean, if they can, should they?
I think basically the best thing that fans can do is do everything they're doing right now, but remember that speculation and expectations are different things. Like, you should go to a Star Wars movie and expect it to be fun, have action. Like, I think you can reasonably expect it to be a good movie, to enjoy it, but you shouldn't expect storyline things to happen. You shouldn't expect Rey and Kylo to kiss in episode 9. Like, if you go into episode 9 and you're like, this movie's gonna suck if Rey and Kylo don't kiss, you are probably gonna be disappointed.
Oh, Brian. Come on. No, I mean, that's true though. It's like, if you have like some sort of thing up in your mind, a plot point built up in your mind of what you want to happen so badly, and I mean, that's a big gamble. You might roll a 1.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and more than likely, unless it's something like, I really hope the good guys win, then you're probably going to be okay.
Yeah.
But if you hope for minute details to be fleshed out and then they don't, and you get mad, I feel like you kind of need to get mad at yourself for not holding yourself back and getting too hyped up about a particular thing.
Yeah.
And as far as Disney Lucasfilm, I mean, no. I threw this part in there because, I mean, they could make their marketing extremely broad and not like do those things where they lead you in one direction
I was
and then
gonna
you
say
see
that,
the
though.
movie.
Like, I hate the new style of misdirection and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, it's exhausting to me. Maybe it's just because I'm like a huge fan, and so I hear all the discourse about it when something comes out, and everyone's like, blah, 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 which, like, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying, like,
well, and I think that's part of the point. Like, they put that stuff out, and they want that speculation to happen, but they know that they're leading you in the wrong direction because they also want it to be a surprise when the actual movie comes out.
But is like that a good surprise?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the thing. Sometimes it's not a good surprise. Like, if you put in something that is misdirection and everyone enjoys what it is, and then you do something,
you take it away.
It's like, wow, that sucks. I don't know. I mean, the whole point is to hype people up to go and see it. And it's like, people are going to go see it. I don't know. I think you just should include some fun action shots and overall arcing of whatever. Like, I don't know. It just seems that movie previews anymore are more about puzzle solving and misdirection rather than just like getting you excited to see a movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at the Jurassic World trailer. Like, the first trailer is like, okay, we're going back to the island. We're going to save some dinosaurs. Oh no, it explodes. Are they going to be safe? And then the new trailer is like, hey, guess what? These dinosaurs are loose in the city. And you're like, what?
I know.
How did these things connect? What is this movie?
I know. That's how I feel about
it.
But...
I mean, granted, I'm still going to see it. I think it looks interesting. It's very, like...
But, I mean, that's the thing, though. Like, the very first trailer was so broad. I mean, it looks like it's the first part of the movie that you're looking at.
Right, exactly. That's going to be, like,
you could,
first act.
Why can't you just do that with a lot of other stuff? Like, you get hyped up by it's like the back of the book cover.
Right, yeah. I mean, it could have left it at that first trailer, I think. And then if you get in the movie and you're like, oh man, so much more happened, it's not like you're going to be mad.
Right. And I mean, then you get people like when you have clips throughout the movie and in a trailer preview, they're like trying to piece together a timeline and blah, blah, blah.
Well, yeah, and
Like,
you get that where, especially in Star Wars trailers, you're looking for things that you saw in the trailer and you never find them. You're like, oh, that wasn't even real.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think it's personally, I mean, should they? I don't know, but I would like it if we could just like stop with this whole misdirection thing and just have like a preview that gets me super stoked.
Right, yeah. I think that's the only, if you're going to lay any blame on anyone other than the fans themselves, that would be the only thing that the new sort of marketing that's...
And it's not just Star Wars, it's everything.
Well, yeah, and they're trying to stop people from getting spoiled, but like, just put out a trailer that doesn't tell anybody anything. It's just a bunch of action and gets you hyped. That's all you need. Like, yeah. Come on. Everyone's going to go see these movies anyway. They just want to taste. You don't have to build up these false stories or whatever.
Yeah, you don't have to get the conspiracy theorists out.
Right, exactly. We're gonna do that on our own. You don't need to. You don't need to lead us.
You don't need to stoke the coals.
We can take care of that ourselves. All right. So moving on, what do you think it is about fandom that gives some people this sense of ownership, such that when their expectations aren't met, it's up to creators to fix it? We've had like all these redo episode 8 because The Last Jedi sucked petitions and this, that, and the other thing. Like, what do you think gives people that sort of, I don't know, audacity, I guess, to even say, you did not make the movie I wanted, you need to fix it, rawr, etc.
I mean, it all goes back to the I obsess, therefore I own kind of thing. A lot of it is, as a fan, I care more about this than you do as the creator.
That's a really good point, actually. Like, how dare you mess with this beautiful thing that I have?
Right, I love it more than you.
Yeah.
You peon. That is the whole purpose why this exists. I don't know. It's strange to me because it's definitely a viewpoint I don't share.
Yeah, no, me neither.
But this is a toughie.
I mean, as anyone who's listened to this show knows, hate some things in Star Wars, but I don't ever ask them to like make some kind of retcon that takes it away or come out and be like, just kidding, that's not... Actually, I think I did ask them to say just kidding one time, but it was a joke mostly. I don't actually want them to do that, is my point. Like, I just, that was a bad decision in my opinion, but I'm willing to move on.
Guys, we don't have to worry because there's going to be a reboot with an alternate timeline of all of these one day.
Yep, exactly.
No worries.
I'm telling you. It's going to be like that episode of Futurama where they make that box that has the alternate universe and then they pull each other into their own box so that they have a box that has their own universe in it. That's what Star Wars is going to do with the world between worlds. Two people in alternate universes are going to stick their hands through portals and pull each other through the portal, and it's just going to be amazing.
Oh.
Yeah, that whole thing made no sense unless you've seen that Futurama episode, and then it only makes very little sense. But anyway... Yeah, I don't know. I think part of the problem is people come up with these speculations and these ideas, and then they put them on social media, and then people are like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. And then they're like, yes, it is awesome. You're right. I am awesome. I am the Star War.
I am the Star War, the only and singular.
Exactly. So they get this positive feedback for their ideas, and then that just balloons out their ego in their head, and they're like, this is what Star Wars should be. I've said it, and everyone agrees. And I think, again, part of that bringing social media into it is that whole echo chamber idea where we've talked about it before, where we share our ideas on Twitter, and it's such a small part of fandom. Like, Star Wars fandom is humongous. We often forget that when we say things on Twitter and everyone agrees that that's not the opinion of fandom at large. Yeah. That's the opinion of fandom at really small, to be honest. So... But still, it feels good when you say something and people are like, yeah, that's awesome. That'd be really cool. And then, unfortunately, people kind of let that fuel them. And I think that's kind of what makes them believe that what they want is what should happen, unfortunately. Because before, like, I had all kinds of speculations about Star Wars, but I never told anybody. It was just like in my head while I'm whistling around doing chores or whatever.
Oh, is that what you do?
Yeah, that was my life.
I think it's also something that happens when you have a long-running story. Because if you have one movie and that's it, it's just one movie. It leaves that open-endedness at the end, and like a lot of people like that because it allows you to be like, did this happen? Or maybe it didn't. I think a lot of people really enjoy that state of being of there's not a clear answer to something. And I think we've talked about that too before, is that I don't subscribe to the idea that Padme just lost the will to live.
Oh yeah, right.
So I think it's something Force related, and I don't want an answer to it, honestly. I don't want someone to like even confirm my theory. I want it to just be open-ended so that my theory can still be right. And so once you come up with a new movie or something and it's not that, it's disappointing.
That's actually a really good point. Having those unanswered expectations so that everyone gets to be right in their own head, but then there's not any canon to contradict them anymore. So they don't have to have that struggle of headcanon versus real canon. It's just, it only exists in headcanon. So whether yours is the minority or the majority headcanon doesn't really matter because there's no, right answer, whatever that is. That's a really astute point.
Oh, thank you.
What do you think, though, about bringing social media back into this? Damn you, social media, ruining everything. But
as we promote our podcast on social
I
media.
know, right? Exactly. Check us out on Twitter. But anyway, you have this, like, slim divide between the fans and the creatives that you never had before. Like, the fans were on one level, the creatives were untouchable on another level. Now you have people, as soon as something comes out, they're adding the author, producer, director, etc.
It's the concept of an account being an account, period. Whether you are a person or the director of Star Wars, you have the same Twitter account.
Right.
Like, it's the same level. It puts everyone on the same kind of playing field, and I think that stems some strange behavior.
Yeah, definitely.
Some really strange behavior, because it gives people the idea, and I mean, in a way, it's true. Like, they're also just a person.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But then again, you also have to remember they're just a person.
Yeah.
Like, don't be terrible to people. Like, that's also a thing that you need to remember.
Well, I think there was a time where if you didn't like something, you had to, write a strongly worded letter about it. And most people, if they had to write out or type out their letter, find an address, mail it, they might get through the part of writing the letter and then they would give up. Now it takes 30 seconds to, like, at Ryan Johnson be like, "You ruined Star Wars, I hate you, you should go die." Like, whoa, come on, man.
Yeah, make sure you add the GIF.
Yeah, exactly. With a bunch of middle fingers or something. Yeah, I think it's cool on one hand, but a little, I don't know, it's blurring the lines again of that. It allows for that ownership too. It's like, I'm friends on Facebook with all of Star Wars. That makes me part of Star Wars. Does it though? Does it?
Is it though? Okay.
So, yeah.
I think it's a good point. I think that the fan-creator divide, because it's been redefined or just put in a different format, it's made things a little weird.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't want to say it's a bad thing, because it's interesting to be able to, at the same time, be like, "Hey, so-and-so, I really liked what you did with this. Thanks, keep up the good work." And you should be able to criticize. I'm not saying, don't say mean things to creatives. Like, if I ever met the guy that wrote Heir to the Jedi, I would throw noodles at him.
Wait, what?
He moves noodles in the book.
No, I get that. Did you say you would throw noodles?
Yeah, I would.
Oh.
No, I was kidding. I wouldn't actually.
Okay.
I just wanted to make a noodle joke.
I didn't know how to respond.
Anyway,
no more ramen for you.
Yeah. No. But yeah, the point is, like, creatives at the same time should be able to take their criticism and be like, okay, or just not say anything. Really, that's the way to do it.
Although it is really rude to, like, say this book sucked.
Right. That's what. Yeah. That's what
like
I'm saying. Yeah. Have no basis for your argument. Just be like, "This is dumb. Go die." Like, that's not really nice or anything. Let's switch gears, and we're going to imagine that the original trilogy came out in the late 90s, early 2000s when the prequels did. And the prequels are coming out now in the, the time of fandom that we have right now that we've been sort of discussing. Do you think because, the prequels kind of got torn apart back then on when all you had was message boards and things like that. You didn't have that immediate, people weren't adding George Lucas or whatever and telling him that he ruined their childhood. They were writing message boards about it. Yeah, exactly. So do you think it would be more magnified hate? Do you think it would be less, or do you think it would be about the same?
I would say it's either less or about the same.
Oh, I think it would be terrible.
Oh, you think it would be terrible?
I think the amount of Jar Jar hate memes would be like more than there are cat videos on the internet. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, the only thing I think would save it is the fact that Lucas was involved, because it seems to be like a fun, this isn't my Star Wars, bring back George Lucas kind of sect that would be satisfied.
People would just be like, George Lucas has lost his mind.
Probably, exactly. Get George off this project,
Bring him in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I think fans would be terrible to it. Because you still have fans being terrible to it now. It's kind of become out of style, I guess, now that they have new movies to be terrible to.
Yeah, I think it'd be less just because it would be George doing it. So that's why I think it'd be less. And I also just think it'd be about the same because, they weren't very well received at first. And I think they just
it would just be a different, an easier, accessible amount of hate.
Yeah.
But the same.
Exactly.
Okay, I guess I could see that. I just feel like we would be even more inundated than we are now.
I guess so, yeah, because you'd be able to share it instead of just standing around the water cooler and talking about how you didn't like the Phantom Menace.
Exactly. Or getting on your old forum thread and being clack, 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 clack. This is the worst thing that's ever happened.
Waiting for your dial-up to connect.
Yeah.
That was good.
Anyway.
We made a lot of sound effects today.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be worse, but I think you could also be right that it's just if people had what they had now back then, it would be about the same. So it being now, just the difference in the accessibility to social media, etc.
I also just think that today people feel like they're film critics more than anything.
True, yeah.
I think that like social media in itself and like blogs and Twitter and
I think it goes
podcasts allow
exactly.
people to feel really important and make them like feel like experts on something.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I was saying before about like getting that validation. Even though it's validation of your point from probably a very small sect of people, it's good. And we like it. Like, review our podcast. Give us validation, please. Thank you. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. It might be too, it might get less vitriol because it's the first time Star Wars is coming back, So there would be that extra excitement. You had all this excitement with The Force Awakens because it was Star Wars coming back, but it was coming back like...
again.
Yeah. If it was just the first time, I think that excitement level may tamper down a little bit of that hate too. So
yeah,
maybe it would just be the same. I don't know.
So speaking of excitement, with Solo coming out this week, what are your expectations for the film? And will you be mad if any of them are not met?
I expect Chewie to live, despite what they say in the trailer, where it makes it look like he might not. And if he doesn't, I'm going to be really mad, because I'm going to be like,
this doesn't make sense.
Who's that other Wookiee then? What is going on here? But no.
It's his twin.
Yeah.
Also named Chewbacca.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Solid theory. Everyone retweet me. Thank you.
Very nice. Yeah, actually for this one, I'm just full board excited, but I haven't really been, aside from that first big trailer that we, did the episode about and everything, I've been looking at other stuff as I see it, but not really seeking it out. I haven't been inundating myself with content, I guess, and everything. I haven't really been making up any theories about who Infy's nest is or what's going to happen with this character, that character, etc. So my expectations are that it's going to be an awesome Han Solo adventure with Lando looking fabulous.
Yeah.
And some awesome characters. Lots of shooting.
Oh, I think the
flying.
Expectations, it's so different for two different reasons. One, it's a film that is in between films that we already know. So big storyline things can't happen.
True, yeah.
So it's safe.
Yeah,
in
and
that
it
sense.
happens. Yeah, it happens before things we know. It's like, the joke I was trying to make with Chewie.
Yeah,
Like, obviously he's fine. Like,
Yeah.
Han's not going to die. Chewie's not going to die.
Lando's not going to die. Yeah, exactly. And 2, it's not a saga film.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you can kind of relax because it's not one of the big ones and it's not as important in some people's eyes, which to me, as someone who has like their favorite film being Rogue One and this being the second film, like that, I'm so excited. It's hard for me to manage expectations a little bit with this because I'm like, oh my gosh, Rogue One was my favorite. Something else that's not part of the sequel trilogy. Am I going to love this one just as much? Is it going to let me down? Is it, but it's super manageable. My expectation is I'm going to go in, I'm going to have fun. It's going to be an enjoyable film. It's going to be funny. It's going to be action-packed. And it's going to kind of push the boundaries of what is Star Wars.
Yeah. And I'm hoping, I guess, this is my one expectation. I expect not to have the Force involved.
Yeah. I think that would be the only thing that kind of would upset me is if,
think...
like, some Jedi show up and basically save the day. And I'd be like, are you serious?
Yeah, right? Exactly.
This is Han's movie. It should be about Han and Han being the hero / anti-hero, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, the Hanro.
Hanro.
But yeah, I think if there's... I thought the Force in Rogue One was great. Like, it fit the story. It was cool. It wasn't over the top. I mean, except for the whole Vader thing, but that was awesome. Over the top.
Yes, please.
But yeah, if there's any sort of Force stuff, unless Maz is in it or something and she does some...
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Or like, I mean... I don't know. I think I could handle some Darth Vader in it. I know some people are like, oh my gosh, why do we have to put Darth Vader in everything? I'd be like, because Darth Vader is awesome.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't kill it for me. Like just a little cameo of Darth Vader, I'd be down
How
for.
cool would it be if like Han's flying around and Vader's like, I'll take care of this, and then gets in his ship and Han outpilots Vader.
I'd be
Bam.
very into it.
Yeah.
I would be extremely into it.
That will definitely not happen, but
No.
that would be cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. There's like a lot of stuff that I can think of happening, and I'm okay with it happening, and I'm not like...
Yeah, I think you said it with the fact that it's not part of the saga. It's not a episodic.
People think it's not
numbered
as important.
filming. Well, yeah, it's... I mean, I don't know if it's important is the right word. It's just there's not as much weight.
Well, it also has that, like, non-future... It's not going into that open-ended territory if we have zero idea what's going to happen.
True, yeah.
I think that taking that fear away of not knowing the fate of everyone...
That's a good point, too. Like, no matter what happens, the people that we already know are safe. And the new people are... probably going to be safe because then they can do more stories with them later and make more money.
But if they die, I mean, you just met them, so it's like, well, meh.
Yeah, kind of like Rogue One. Maybe they'll just kill off every single person that isn't Han, Lando, and Chewie. And it's like, okay, it doesn't matter what happened to these people after this.
You don't have enough time to grow.
Dead.
You don't have enough time for this to grow into part of your childhood and then them grow up and disappoint you. What?
Wow.
Well, it's true.
Yeah, it's good. So what are your expectations out there in the, Twitterverse, basically, because that's really the only way we engage with people in our small fandom footprint.
Let us know at hyperspace_pod.
Or, email us. That's always an option. hyperspacepodblast@gmail.com.
And you can always check out our content on hyperspacepodblast.com.
That's us. That's where to find us.
Yeah.
We look forward to hearing from you.
And enjoy Solo.
Yes, we'll be back to talk about that probably for months to come because we got a long way to the next one after this one.
Yes, we do. All right. Talk to you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.